Hello and welcome to the Healthy Business Podcast. Today I'm joined by the wonderful Hayley Forbes. I'm super excited to be chatting to her. She is a seven-figure business owner who specializes in strategy and mindset and all things social media as well. So I know you guys are going to listen and learn a huge amount. So Hayley, thank you so much for joining me.
I am so excited to be here and chat with you. As you said before, it feels like it's been on the cards for ages. So I'm excited we're finally getting to do this and record this.
Oh, me too. I want to hear a little bit about your journey and I know we've spoken previously, but I think it's so good to kind of have these conversations and just share where we have started out and then kind of how we've been able to grow and scale and the things that we need at those different phases as well. So before we get into your story, before we get into you and in more detail, one question that I always love to ask my guests is what a healthy business means to you. And I would love your take on this.
Yeah, so for me, it's freedom. Like that's what instantly comes up. A healthy business to me is freedom, and that's freedom in every area. And I think that when you strive for freedom, then you can lean into whatever a healthy business means to you at any stage, because I think it's different, right? I think that when you start your business, when you're growing it, and also depending on what's happening in your personal life, what means a healthy business will change. Sometimes it's healthy, and I'm going to say this, some people might disagree, but I think sometimes it's healthy to hustle in business. If you've got that energy, that drive, that creativity, and you're in a period of your life where you have that capacity, amazing. And then there's sometimes in your business where you want to cut back and you want to stop trading all your time for money and you want it to work for you, and you need more time in your personal life or more time to go and explore and do other things. And I think for me, the healthiest business are the businesses that have the freedom to flow, that have the freedom to go between whatever you need in your personal life and your business life at any point.
Oh, I love that. The freedom's one of my kind of key values, as the listeners will know. And I love that idea of just our businesses being in different seasons as well, which is so true, right? And I think whether you're growing, whether you're scaling, but actually one of the reasons that so many of us have got our own businesses is because we want to do the things outside of business and have that freedom, that flexibility, whether it's family, whether it's caring for others, whether it's holidays, whatever that looks like for us. But having a business that works for us rather than feeling like we're in the business all the time. And as you say, that's going to change, right?
Yeah, it changes all the time, and we change as people. And I love what you said there about like the different seasons in business, because we go through different seasons in our life as well. Even like we follow the seasons as well. Like we're cyclical beings, and it's something that we're not taught about when we're taught to work in this 9-to-5 society. We're not taught about being cyclical beings and about like wintering down. Something I'm really passionate about is like, I don't have alarms, and I've not set alarms for years. And in the summer, I'll wake up really early, and in the winter, I'll wake up a lot later. And actually in the spring and the summer, energy to do more and go and experience more, and we can see that in our business as well. And in the winter we really cocoon, and for me in business, I can see that flow in business as well. I'll be doing more outward stuff in spring and summer, and in winter is when I really go through the back end of the business and make sure everything's working for me. And I do a little bit less outward, but more inward, and more sitting like mastering my skills and sitting more behind a computer, but learning and systemizing things and improving things and automating things. And I think that that's really important as well, to recognize that you get the freedom in your business to enjoy the freedom in your life, and they both support each other as well.
Oh, so true. And actually, that makes me really think about where we first met was on our positive psychology coaching, which is almost kind of this time last year. And that importance of energy, that importance of leaning into ourselves and our own strengths and values, but actually remembering that we are all different. So what works for you and what works for me is going to be so different for other people, right? Like spring, summer, go, go, go. But actually for other people, that might be their time for, taking that time out and really assessing things because it's holiday time or whatever's going on. And yeah, I love that idea. It's so important because energetics is something that you're really big on anyway, isn't it?
Yeah, I love energetics. I love it all. I love mindset, strategy, and energetics. And I don't think you can take any of them away. and still get the same kind of success. I think all three are really important. But as you say, it's so important to know what suits you and the type of person you are. I'm really big into human design. So I really lean into what my human design is. It's what I help my clients with as well. And then look at their values, their personality type, what they want as well. And like what you said, some people might actually want the whole summer off, so they will maybe work more in the winter. And I think that's amazing. And it all comes back to that initial thing, which is freedom, right? The freedom to do what you want, like create your life the way that you want to live your life. And I think it's really important as people, but especially as entrepreneurs and business owners, to always reassess because it can get so easy to just start doing the things. And then you can sometimes lose focus of, am I still wanting to go down this path?
Yeah.
Or is there another, have I went off path? Is there a new path? And reassess, where am I? Is this what I want? If so, amazing. If not, I can tweak it now. Like, we've got the freedom to do that at any point as well.
I love that. That really speaks to how I work with my clients, of having a quarterly check-in of going, well, have you hit your business goals? Brilliant. But what's the impact on your life been? And likewise, the other way, have you hit what you wanted to do and done the things you want to do in your personal life? And if you haven't, like, what needs to change? What do you need to keep doing? Stop doing? Change? Like, it's such an important thing, isn't it? But when we're busy in business, we tend to forget to do those things. And they're actually really important, just to realign and resense check everything.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for me, when I'm speaking about this as well, I always speak about it as it's work-life integration. It's not work-life balance, because everybody speaks about work-life balance. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing or a good thing. It's just the way that
you can say that on here. I really hate that phrase. Okay, I talk about it a lot, so I'm with you.
Yeah, I often say work-life balance is a load of BS. Like, one, there is no balance, and trying to strive for it is often the thing that we beat ourselves up with, because we feel like we don't have that balance. The thing is, there'll be some times in your life where, and again, like, people can hate on this if they want, take everything and just like reflect on it. But there'll be times where your business is the most important thing in your life, and that's okay. And there'll be times when it's your family. There'll be times when it's yourself. And I don't mean the most important as in, like, my kids are always the most important thing to me. But sometimes when the kids are good, business takes priority. Sometimes when there's things that need done in the business, I will prioritize the business that time. And that's the thing. There is no striving for balance. It's looking at, how does this all integrate? How does it all support each other? And sometimes I may be working more. Sometimes I may be taking so much time off from work and I'm pouring it into family and adventures. Sometimes I may have myself as a focus. Now, we obviously want all of these things to always be working for us, always be supported in our life, our personal life, our family, our relationships, our work. But sometimes one of them takes a little bit more at one time. And I think that's actually really good and really healthy. And when you see it as whole, a lot of people try and compartmentalize areas of their life. So, like, right, relationships are here, kids are here, business is here, self-care is here. And then I'm like, no wonder you feel like you're juggling everything, because you've got so much to hold. Whereas when you see that it's not separate, there's nothing to juggle, because it's just all one. There is no juggling. It's all, how does this all work together? How does it all support each other? But removing the guilt if you need to prioritize any one area at any point. And I think that that's something that really needs to be spoken about a lot more as well.
Oh, you are literally speaking music to my ears. I talk a lot, so much around that, it's all life, and work is a pillar of that, and everything else is kind of, it is that integration. Absolutely right. It's so true. And I think we've been conditioned from such a young age, and from the way that the corporate society works, to position everything as either this or that or something else. And actually, if we can create, and one of the reasons that so many women are in business is because they want to have that integration of all of those things and make it all possible without the guilt, without the judgment, and just making it work for them. And I think, that conversation, just, you can never have that enough, I don't think.
I agree 100%. Like, I feel like I've been preaching it from the beginning. It's something it's really, really important to me, and it's a message that I really hope people hear, and it really lands with them as well. And it doesn't matter how it lands, it doesn't matter what they take from it, as long as they can take something away from that and see if their life is integrated, and if they want to integrate it as well. And I think that's important as well. Not everybody does. There's people in my life, friends and family, who love to go to their work that they don't particularly love, but it's fine. And they like going to work, and they like doing work at work, and they like plugging out and coming home and enjoying their life. And that's okay if that's what you want. But if you don't want that, that doesn't have to be the normal. Like, that doesn't have to be the normal. And it's not on me to sort of say that they shouldn't want that. Like, I love everybody to live their best life. And as I say, for some people, that is it. Some people want it separate. But I think that from experience on the other side, and doing all the deconditioning from society and the way that we're brought up, and the life, this hallmark picture perfect life that we're taught to strive for, and having lived that life and it not bring me any more joy and any more happiness, then I can see that that's not the way that I want to go. And I know a lot of my clients, my audience, they're the same. They don't want life to feel like Groundhog Day. They aspire for something more. But as I say, if people want that separateness and that's what they enjoy, and they enjoy being fully plugged out, then I think it's the awareness, right? It's the awareness of, if you're choosing that, recognize that you're choosing that. And if you are choosing it and you don't want that, there's another choice.
So true. It is. It's that awareness, and then taking that intentional action for whatever feels good for you, going right back to the beginning of that flexibility and that freedom, right? It's got to work for you. How did you get into what you're doing now? Because I know you've had a bit of a journey of doing different things, and then now supporting other people through their business growth.
Yeah. So my background is I was a special effects makeup artist for TV and film. So I'd done like prosthetics, like all the blood and gore, all of that stuff. That's what I'd done. And it was my dream job. Absolute dream job. Loved it. Got really successful in that. But it doesn't support mothers. It doesn't support mothers. There's a reason why most people in the film industry that we're seeing are men. And there are more women up and coming, but the hours are ridiculous. It is not glamorous. You're on set for like 16 hours a day. When you're filming, there's no days off. You're out in the freezing cold usually. So I'd be away for weeks, sometimes months at a time, and I'd only be seeing my kids when they were sleeping. So it just didn't support my life anymore. And my son I've got 4 kids, and my eldest had started school. My eldest 2 children both have autism. Now, at the time, we didn't know. He started school, and it just wasn't supporting him. And the school were pushing for him to get a diagnosis. But in the meantime, I could just see my son starting to like go into himself. And I had actually started working at a college at the time teaching, because I thought, well, I'll be a lecturer. I can still do my special effects, but the hours are a little bit better. They support my family life a little bit more. So I thought, this will be amazing. I'll have like school holidays off. Like, this is like the life that you strive for, right? And then basically that all got turned upside down. So my son asked me one day, he's like, "Mummy, do I have to go to school?" And I was like, "Well, no." He says, "Why do we go to school?" And I says, "Well, everybody goes to school." He says, "But do I have to? What happens if I don't?" And I was like, "I have no idea, darling, but leave it with me." And I dropped him off at school, and I came home. He was only just turned 5. And I searched that whole day, and I realized he didn't have to go to school. We could home educate him. And 2 weeks later, we took him out of the education system. Now, just sort of around this time, I found out I was pregnant with my 4th child, and my youngest at that time was 7 months old. So I had just turned 5-year-old, a 2-year-old, 7-month-old, and a new baby was on the way. The boys were all planned. Millie was not planned. She came with that, an absolute surprise. So this was all happening, as well as at college where I was teaching. I just wasn't getting on great there. I had to work my son's birthday, which I'd never had to do before. I'd always been self-employed, always, since like I really left college. Then I owned my own business. And there was a lot of things going on. The way that we were getting taught to teach the students, in my opinion, wasn't right. I was like, this isn't what they do in industry. Why are we teaching this? They said, it doesn't matter. Teach them to pass the exams. And I was like, but I've been out in industry, like this doesn't work. This is techniques from like 30 years ago. If they were to go and use this, they would not get a job. So I was meeting a lot of resistance in a lot of areas of my life. And I decided to take a year off. I was like that, we're taking a year off, we're going traveling. I need to go and find out what I actually want again. Like this is, everything is just not, it just wasn't right. It just wasn't sitting right. So we packed up everything. Well, this is after I had baby. So a little bit later, had baby. She was about 6 months old at this time. We packed up everything, gave away most of our stuff, got a small storage container, put anything in there that we didn't get rid of, packed up the car, the 4 kids, and off we went. And we went traveling. So we went traveling around the UK, then we done some of Europe. We came back and we were meant to be continuing to travel, but then soon after that, COVID kind of hit. Now, when we were traveling, I started going more into personal development and also more into, I watched Gary Vaynerchuk on YouTube and I just fell in love with him. I was like, this guy knows what he's talking about. And for years, a lot of my friends had said, oh, you should be a life coach, Hayley, because I'd always done things a little bit different. I'd always been open to doing things different as well. Obviously, home educating and a lot of choices in my life. We just looked at, I've always been someone that's never known the word no. Like even as a kid, my mum was like, I'd say no to you guys and your brother would kick off and have a temper tantrum. I'd say no to you and you go away and come back with 100 different other reasons. So here's all the ways it can work. Okay, so you said no because of this, but look at this, this, and this. So I've never known a no. I've always been like, there's an opportunity. There's another way. Let's look for the solution. And so a lot of my friends had said, oh, you should be a life coach. And we got back from traveling and I got more and more into personal development for myself. Now, me and my partner actually started a fitness company when we got back, but it wasn't aligned. I was writing like diet plans and fitness plans. It was a vegan fitness company and we had a whole clothing range and it was amazing, but it wasn't in alignment with what I actually like to teach people, which is self-regulation. So the way we bring up the kids, we radically unschool the kids. So with no rules in the house, it's all self-regulation, giving them full body autonomy, including food. It's like really tuning into your body. Yeah, I'm sitting writing diet plans. And I was like, what are you doing, Hayley? This isn't for you. So I took a pause off that and started going more into coaching. I started getting my own coaching, getting coached in groups. And that's just when I fell in love with it. And I was like, I have to do this. I need to do this. So I dove into multiple coaching certifications. I'm trained in 6 currently. So I really dove into it all and really dove into the learning. And when I qualified after my first one, 5 out of 6 of my first clients were all other coaches because they wanted to learn the business. For over 12 years, I'd run my own business. I'd marketed myself, I'd sold. I also had a successful mum blog at the time. I'd grew that to like thousands. I grew it to over 10,000 in the first year, continued to grow, monetize and scale that. So everyone was like, right, Hayley, I love your philosophy on life and I want the mindset stuff, but teach me how to do business. Like, how do I get success marketing? How do I get success on Instagram? So essentially I just merged all of them together. My tagline has always been like, create your life. Like you can create your life, like live for a living. And I was like, this doesn't have to stop just because I'm now talking about business. It gets to integrate and it gets to be both. So that is still my whole core message. It's just that it's now evolved to what it is now, which is business, mindset, as you say, energetic strategy, and in money coaching as well, because my other tagline is to get more money into the hands of more women.
Love it. There's so many bits in there.
Sorry, that was like spewed everything at you there.
I love it. And I think, and one of the reasons that I think you've been really successful and other people that have been is that at every opportunity, you've not taken no as that end answer because there's always a solution. And I think if I can share just one nugget for you listeners to kind of take through, or even to this point of our conversation, is there is always a way around it. If you want it enough and you want to explore what that looks like, we can find a way to do it. And I see this over and over again. Those that are more successful in business are the ones that are like, okay, this has happened. What can I do about it? And we saw it so many times through the pandemic and kind of everything that's going on in the media with financial talk. And I'm like, okay, where's the opportunity in this? And I think, as you just said, no is not an answer. It is an answer if you want it to be an answer. But if you want to use that as an opportunity, there's always so many different ways around things.
Yeah, 100%. It's something I always say, and it's such a cliche saying, but I always say it: when there's a will, there's a way. And I've used that always. Like, I remember saying to my friend once, I was looking for little matching outfits for me and my daughter. She was just under 2 at the time, and I really wanted cute matching outfits, and I couldn't find any that I liked online, right? Because I'm vegan, I'm like this vegan, bed sharing, unschooling, crunchy mama, but then I'm also like love fashion, love makeup, love pretty things. So a mixture of it all, but I was looking for outfits that were matching and I couldn't find any. So I was like, I'm going to make some. And my friend was like, Hayley, do you know how to make clothes? I was like, no. And she's like, so how are you going to do this? And I was like, well, where there's a will, there's a way. Didn't have a sewing machine, had never sewed before, but I got fabric and I got needle and thread, and it took me 2 days, 2 whole days. I could have worked for those 2 days and just paid someone to like make these and design it, and it would have cost me a lot less of my energy and time. But for 2 days, I sat and hand sewed like these outfits, and they were amazing. And she was just like, I remember my friend reflected back. She's like, that there's literally nothing that you won't do. And I was like, where there's a will, there's a way. Yeah. Even if you're not perfect, even if you don't have the skill, you can learn it, or you can try it. You can problem solve. Like, when you are solution focused, you will always find it. And it's not about not having problems, and it's not about having toxic positivity at all, but it's about, I think, acknowledging sometimes in your life, acknowledging and validating your feelings, and then looking at, okay, how can I move forward now? How can I be solution focused? And having that, when you want something and when you're dedicated, when you decide, and a lot of people say they decide, a lot of people say that they're in, but they're not really. It's like one foot's in the door. However, when you fully decide, when you commit, there's that saying, I can't remember it exactly, it's Tony Robbins, and he talks about like when you decide, when you go and decide to live on the island, then you burn the boats because there's no way back. Like, you don't hold on to them. You're not like, oh, well, I'll keep the boats there in case I want to go back to the mainland. It's you burn the boats because no matter what goes wrong, you will find a way to make this work.
I love that. It's almost, there is no plan B. That plan A will work. But even if you don't know what that plan A looks like, you find a way to make that an option, right? And I think I see this again so many times, that people say that they think they know that it's possible, but actually fully committing to that and going, do you know what, this is what I want, and I am going to fully commit to that, and I'm prepared to take those actions to get there. It takes us back to what you were saying earlier of, sometimes it is hard work, sometimes you do have to hustle, and that's okay too. I think there's such a, we live in a world of social media, right? And there is that, overnight success conversation and people kind of building on that, but the only overnight success is the years of decisions and conversations that you've had beforehand. And I think, it's, marketing is brilliant. It's my background. I love it. But I think there is that realism as well, isn't there? Of kind of, you still have to take action. Yes, you can have success, but you still have to commit to it. You still have to have that mindset and believe. But the most important thing is taking action as well.
100%. And like, I always, with my clients as well, when they come to me with something, I'm like, I always take it's similar this is very, very simplified, right? Very, very simplified version of it. I'll speak about the masculine and feminine. So I'll speak about okay, what is holding you back so far? Or where's the mindset shift? Or where is this? And so we'll look at like the being. And then I'll also be like, but also here's the thing you need to go and do. Right. Or here's here's the options, this one or this one. And for me, it's both. It's you have to get that action. It's like I spoke about recently how like I manifested a £30,000 day, and I woke up that day and I just set the intention for like, today's going to be a 30,000 day. And I was like, I'm only available for it coming to me with ease and flow. And that is it. I had no reason to believe that was going to happen that day. And it was a new moon, and I set the intention, and I meditated, and I sat with my crystals, and it happened. It ended up being more than that day. And I was like, here's what I want you to see, that it happened, that I set the intention, that it came through with ease and flow, and that I really brought this in and called it in and was open to receiving. But also, here's what I want you to see. This didn't just happen. This happened from an accumulation of years worth of work, of giving value, of putting myself out there, of advertising, of building up the social proof that led to these clients that ended up coming through on that specific day. So like, I'm here for it all. I'll speak about like moon rituals and crystals and manifest and law of attraction. And I love the science behind all that as well. Like, I'm someone that geeks out on the science of like the quantum physics of it and why it actually works the way it does. But at the same time, I'm like, realistic. It happened because of here's strategically why it happened, but here's energetically why it happened as well. So I'm like, did I sit and meditate with crystals and call that in? Yes. Is that the reason why it happened? Not really. But it helped me open up and be in the best vibrational, energetic match for receiving. But it was the strategy and the actions that came before it that led to that as well.
I love it. So important to remember and remind people of that, I think, as well. It's all those decisions that happen beforehand that allow you to create this. And I talk a lot, I'm very, very similar, like energize, strategize, and magnetize are my kind of 3 core words. And I think it's, you have to have all elements of those. You can't just focus on just like, you can have the best ever strategy, but if you don't believe it and you don't take action, you don't have the energy behind it, it's not going to work.
100%. And that's why that you can't stop them either. Like, you can't separate them. And I got another part of my business I do is I train other I train people to become coaches in sort of neurogetics framework. And it's so different to any other certifications out there because we focus on the blocks first. So we go back and remove all the blocks first. We go back and do matrix reimprinting and remove and do inner child healing first and work on those blocks first so that there's not resistance to then adding in the strategy. Now, this work's never done, right? It's always healing and growing. But I think that that's the thing that a lot of people miss. It's both together, right? Again, it's that integration that we're speaking about. It's not, whereas what I see a lot of people doing, and again, it's not right or wrong. Everybody does things in their own timeline, but with the rise of personal development, I always feel like when I'm speaking about this stuff, I'm like, is this going to land with the audience or are they just going to hate me? With the rise of personal development, there's so many people use personal development to procrastinate. It's unbelievable. I see so many people say they've got a block, so then they don't take action. Whereas we want to integrate both. Someone can have all the strategy in the world, but if they're not working through the blocks that they've got, if they're not working through their limiting beliefs, if they're not working on energetically their capacity to receive what they're working towards, the strategy won't work. However, just focusing on healing and the magic and removing the blocks isn't going to get you what you want either. And I think it's really important to, and again, that this is what I'll speak to my clients with. I'm like, okay, how can we work on the healing now? But also, I'd love for you to go and take action towards it at the same time. And I think it's when you do both together, that's when you see that success happen much quicker because you're always healing and you're always growing. And I don't think that that's a journey that ever stops.
No, it's not at all. And I think it's really interesting. And I've seen this too, with people saying that they want to have that success and they want to get to a certain level and they're prepared to take the action, but they're not ready to invest. And then you see them going and investing in more personal development and more modalities. And I'm like, that's brilliant. That's going to help you grow. But if you're not integrating that back into your business, you're going to stay the same place as you are, but you're just going to have a lot more knowledge.
100%. And it's all marketing. I wrote a post that's going to go out tomorrow, actually. And it was about how some people sort of tear down women, and it's such a shame. It's women tear down other women in this industry for talking about money and celebrating money as a result. And what I find is so interesting is a lot of these people use things like healing and heart-centeredness and tear down people celebrating money to market come and buy my thing instead.
Yeah.
right? And it's all marketing. Like, it's all marketing. Shouting about money is marketing. Shouting about be heart-centered and work this way is marketing. Shouting about you need to heal, you need to do this. Like, that's all marketing. Everybody is just marketing. And there's not any right or wrong. But I think when we look at it separately, again, it's we like to separate things. We like to try and compartmentalize things. But when you do, you're only getting one vision. You can't see the whole picture. It's when you realize they're all integrated and they're all together, and there's no judgment on any of the things, because we need them all, and we need them. And again, a little bit like the sort of the family, the relationships, the business, with the healing, with the growing, with the strategy, sometimes it will call for more of one than the other. Sometimes you'll be more in a healing growth. Sometimes you'll be more in a maintenance growth, sometimes in a position. Sometimes you'll be more in the growing, the strategy. And that's okay as well. But you want to make sure you're doing all of it to some extent. It's okay if one takes more than the other, but you can often block yourself by sitting in a space where it's like, oh, I can't because I've got this block. I've identified this block and now I need to sit and work on this. And I'm like, you're literally just self-sabotaging again. Why don't we do both? Why don't we focus your energy on healing this, but also keep things moving along in your business in the meantime as well?
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's that integration, isn't it, of kind of moving on all those different parts. What would you say then has been the biggest game changer for you within your business?
It comes back to, again, and I know it's overly simplified, but it comes back to I made a decision. I made a decision. It was the second month of my business, and it's when I invested in myself, actually invested far more than I could afford. But I made that decision there of, this is who I want to be. This is what I want my business to be, and I will make it work. And I remember when I invested, it wasn't about, can I make this back? It's, I will do what it takes to make this back, and I'll do what it takes to make this a success. And at that point, it was as simple as a split-second decision. But yet it was one of the hardest decisions I ever made, because I knew that when I decided, there was no going back. It was for all the good and all the bad. I was in it. And it's something that I see, again, not a lot of people do. A lot of people are kind of in it, or they're in it for when it's good, and then they're looking for a way out as soon as it's bad. And that's where you have to commit. And that's not something that can be taught. It's something that has to be experienced. And for some people, they need a driver, they need a reason to get to that point. And for me, it was definitely, I'd had businesses before and they were successful, but I was never playing a big game. I didn't even know that this was available. And then when I seen it, I decided, if that's available for them, it's available for me. And I remember at the time, one of my peers, because I scale really, really quickly, so I sort of really quantumly collapse time, all of the fun words. And one of my peers was like, you move so quickly, Hayley. And she's like, how do you have the confidence to do that? Like, you just put yourself out there, like, from the beginning. And I was like, well, I don't think that anybody's better than me. And I don't think I'm better than anyone else. So for me, there's not, when I see someone else have something, I'm not like, that's not available for me yet. I'm like, okay, they're proof that that's available. If I want that, I'm going to decide to get it. What do I need to do to go make that happen now? And it's that decision that'll get you success every single time. Like, commit and play full out. There is no other way. I've never went into anything with, if this doesn't work out. I've always went into, it will work out. It might not work out exactly how I think it's going to work out, but it will work out. No, never.
I love it. I think there's you need to have the fire in the belly, don't you? And I think sometimes investing that stretch amounts, whether it's your time, your energy, or even financially, that nervousness is the same as excitement. It's the same feeling within our body. And I think you need some of that in there. It is that adrenaline. Like, some of, I hear sort of stress is taken as such a negative word, but actually I think we need some level of stress to make us want it to happen, because then we do take that action. We've got to push ourselves to that next level if you want that next level. And I think it is, we talk about joy and we talk about ease and flow. that comes, but we still have to make that decision. We still have to take that action to get to that. And it's the biggest thing I see.
100%. And I think that's another big thing as well, that ease isn't the same as easy.
Yes.
Right. Like, and I think that's the thing. Like, I always say my business gets to feel easy. That doesn't mean it's easy. There's some work days that I'll be working 12 hours a day. Yet it feels like the easiest day that it feels like, right? So it's not that there's some weeks that I only work like 3 hours a week. And this is what I'm saying, like it all flows as well. And I allow myself to work when I want to work and to pull back when I want to pull back. But for me, I'm always like, how can this feel easy? Not how can it be easy? And I think so many people, and social media has got a big part to play in it, because not a lot of people are honest about what it takes. A lot of people sell the dream of sort of have 100k works while only working like 100k months while only working 7 hours a week, but that's not what they done to get them there. So they're not lying, they are experiencing that lifestyle, but that's not how it started. And I think because of that, a lot of people think, well, I'll just invest and then I'll get that as well, and I don't have to do any work, and it gets to always be easy. And I always say to my clients, it always gets to feel easy, but there will be hard times. And it's like, well, how can you make those hard times feel easy? How can you look after yourself? How can you bring fun and joy and flow into it so that you can get through the hard times as well as experience the good times? And I think that, again, it's just such an important conversation to have, that ease and living in ease and flow is not the same as it being easy every step of the way.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, as you're growing, as you're scaling your business, and you will have found this too, it is that cyclical thing again, isn't it? Like sometimes it will feel harder, sometimes it will feel easier, and that's okay, because every level is another level of change and integration, and it's really important for that. Obviously, getting to that 7-figure mark, you've got to go through those different levels to get there, right? Yeah. You've done that really quickly. What were other than kind of making that decision, was there anything from a kind of strategy perspective or from a marketing perspective that you noticed were different from that kind of early stages of kind of growth to getting more into that kind of steady growth, steady scaling, and then really ramping it up?
Yeah, from the beginning, it's personal brand, building your personal brand. When I started, I started a new Instagram account, and Instagram's where I get most of my clients. And I had a business coach tell me that I was silly for not using my over 16,000 followers that I had on another account. I was like, they're not my ideal audience. I'm not using it. I started from scratch. And the first 2 months on that account, I posted every single day. I done lives weekly. I done free trainings, and I never sold a thing. I didn't promote anything. I wasn't qualified yet. I'd done it 2 months before I qualified, and I built up that personal brand. I shared my story. I shared motivation. I shared tips. I gave value, and I always have. Value. I always say, like, you could probably build your business just on what I give for free. Like, I give so much value away for free. And in the beginning, it was committing to value. Now, in the beginning, I massively overgave of myself, massively. And I don't recommend that now, but I can see how that supported me in the beginning. So I always over deliver. I just don't over give now. Whereas in the beginning, I was coaching in the DMs. Hour-long sessions with clients were like lasting 2 hours, and I lacked serious boundaries. I was working myself to the bone, but I was just given so much value. That is not sustainable. And it's also not fun as well. You start resenting a lot of things. So I had to really start cleaning things up, doubling down on what worked, but cleaning up the boundaries. So that was like, I'd say the start stage was literally personal brand and give everything you've got to everybody. Then in the middle, it's really like, okay, how can I sustain this now? How can I maintain this? And it's cleaning everything up, cleaning up boundaries, seeing where you want things to really land and be. And then the biggest change from that then has been getting clarity on my vision of what I want that to be and getting visible. So for me, for the last few months, I've changed my brand again, and I really got clarity on who is it that I want to work with, who does that desire to work with, and in what capacity, and really owned that. And I've really stepped into, like, I see my brand has had this evolution. In the beginning, it was, here's a nice girl that's going to give you all the value. And like my pictures were like that. They were really professional and really nice. And my messages were really nice. They didn't trigger anybody. They weren't polarized, and they were just nice and valuable. And that was fine in the beginning. Then in the middle, they became like really bright and pink and girly. And that's when like I done my brand shoot with like my big bow dress and things. And I really think there was a part of me that had to show that inner child that I could be a successful in business and still be super girly and still be this like bright, energetic person. And the brand involvement that I went into now is more, it's like a depth. It's a deeper conversation. It's not quite the, here's how to do these 5 things. It's like, let's have this deeper chat. And there's a lot more energetics in it as well. And as I say, the last few months I've committed to getting more visible. So for me, it's not just being on one platform, I'm on multiple platforms. I'm having bigger conversations. I'm based in the UK, but I'm expanding out of the UK, and I'm doing what I can to network and expand. And all of my like high level clients that have came through recently have all said something along the lines of, I've been seeing you everywhere. We need to talk. So that's what it's been. It's about being visible, but visible in my authority. So strategy wise, to kind of sum that up, in the beginning, and again, I'm going to be a little bit controversial, charge what people will pay, right? People are like, charge what people will pay and what you can get behind. Everybody says go high ticket. I've coached so many new coaches that charge high ticket and haven't been able to sign any clients because they're not energetically behind that price. Mm-hmm. In the beginning, I would charge £100 for a session and discount it by 40%. So I was charging £60 a session. Now I quickly scaled, like my prices now are I don't charge per session, but it'd work out between 1,500 and 2K per session. So I've quickly scaled that, but I had to energetically get behind that price. I had to prove to myself people would pay me for this and that what I was delivering was worth it. I couldn't get behind that without seeing it first. So in the beginning, I was literally taking on anybody as a client. Again, this isn't necessarily what you should do. Yeah. But in the beginning, this is what I done. I took on anybody, I charged what I could fully get behind and what people would pay for. And I gave so much of myself. I'd done whatever it took to make it a success. Then I cleaned that shit up. I was like, right, this is not supportive, but I had the proof. I had the testimonials. I had the social proof. This works. I can get behind it. Now, how do I actually want to run a business? And I cleaned everything up. And then from that place, I'm like, okay, now I want to grow and be visible. So how do I automate things even more? How do I clean up my boundaries? And how do I expand without taking all my time and energy? How do I lean more on team? How do I automate things? How do I repurpose things? And that's definitely the season I'm in just now is expansion.
And I think, do you know what? It goes back to that word that you said right at the beginning of what healthy business is that freedom. And it's that freedom to play. It's that freedom to be confident in each of those places, but build your confidence in each of those stages as well. Because you're so right. Like when we're in those early stages of business, we have the beautiful family members and friends who are sharing their opinions and going, why are you doing this? And what are you doing? And it's brilliant because we know it comes from a place of care, but that can knock our confidence. And if we constantly channel and listen to those things, and you haven't done this before, you haven't kind of, you're still in that early stages, you need to have that confidence. You need to have those testimonials to allow you to then start charging higher prices and to step into your next level of success. Yeah. So I totally agree. I think there's so many people that are saying go straight to high ticket. And, I'm the same. You have to do the low level stuff to really understand what you can create, but also I think to know which bits you love doing and which bits you don't love doing. And we're all different. And again, it goes back to that freedom piece again, but it's okay to run a business and do it in your way and choose the bits that you love to do. But unless you've done them, you don't know whether that's going to work for you. And you don't want to get to that 6-7 figure mark and then go, oh, maybe I'm just going to try that low level thing. Because that's going to feel frustrating too.
In the beginning, the first certification I done, I needed 2 case study clients and I took on 9. I'm someone that's always, if I'm doing this, I'm doing it. And I took on 9. And it was the best thing I've ever done because I quickly learned who I did not want to coach.
Yeah.
And to learn that in a space where I was given my time and it was like that experience was worth its weight in gold to me. So yeah, I completely agree. In the beginning, you want to do as much as possible. And that's why everything that I done in the beginning I say to my clients, they're like, Hayley, how did you scale so quickly? I'm like, you don't want to do it the way I done it. Like, nobody wants to do it the way I done it. There was days that I was getting up and like working from 7 o'clock in the morning, and I was still on my laptop at 2 o'clock in the morning. I was doing everything myself. I was overworking, but I always had the I don't even know the right word for this. I knew that I wasn't going to continue like that. So I was never going to fall into burnout, because I knew it was, I had to do this to get this kind of result. And as soon as I got that, I cut back. As soon as I could, I outsource. So I always say, like, here's how I done it. And I'm really honest with how I grew my business. But at the same time, that's probably not what you want. And I always say to my clients and to everybody, your actions have to match your ambition, right? So if you want, like my first month in business was £5,050. The next month was a 13K month. The month after that was 11K. I got an 86K month, my fifth month in business. So I grew it really, really quickly, but my actions matched that ambition. I always say, like, if you want 10K months, only working 3 hours a week, then that's amazing. But if you want that in 3 months, that's not realistic. Your actions aren't matching your ambition. If you're starting from zero, right? If you're starting from zero and you want to go up to 10K months, only working 3 hours a week, and you're first starting, that's not necessarily realistic. However, maybe over 3 years, only working 3 hours a day or 3 hours a week, and over 3 years want to get to that level, then that's realistic. You could do that. However, if you want 10K months right off the bat within your first 3 months of business, then expect to be working 70 hours a day. Like, your actions have to match your ambition, and nothing's wrong with either. It's okay to say, I'm not, like, I've got some clients that are like, that's not what I desire. I desire to have slow, sustainable growth, because I don't want my life to be impacted. I love my life the way it is. So what we look at is making sure that their goals and their ambition matches the actions that they want to take right now. I've got other clients that are like, Hayley, I want to grow as quickly as possible. Tell me what I want to, like, tell me what I have to do. And they do it. And the level of people that I work with now, often they're already getting success. So now we are scaling back and we are automating things and seeing that they don't have to do that now. And I think it's really important to remember that action has to match ambition, but also coming back to that seasons, right? There's some of my clients that have done all that in their first year, and they've hit multi-six figures in their first year. And now they're like, right, Hayley, I now don't want to start before 11 o'clock in a day, and I only want to work 3 days a week. Like, how do we keep this success going and continue to scale it while making sure that it supports me now? So that's now what we're working on. And that's okay. It's okay to have periods of hustle, periods of maintenance, and then periods of, actually, I want to cut back. And how do I do this in a way that continues to support my growth?
Yeah. And I think, life happens, doesn't it? Like, whether it's children that are sick, whether you get sick, whether you want to have more holidays, like, all of that is really valid and really important. And it goes right back to that, doing business in a way that works for you, whatever that looks like, is okay and gives you that freedom. And that is that healthy business, that successful business.
100%. And I think that's the best thing people can do, is not put pressure on themselves. I see people compare themselves when they maybe don't have the capacity to work more than part-time, comparing themselves to, maybe they've got a family and they can only work part-time, comparing themselves to someone who is single, no children, doesn't have another job, has a big stack of money in the bank supporting them, and works every single day to play full out. I'm like, it doesn't match. You can't come, and it's why we have to stay with, where is our life right now? What do we desire? And how can we match that? So how can we match where you want to be with what actions you want to take right now, and make sure both are in alignment? It can't just be the actions you take now, and it can't just be the goal. If those don't match, if they're out of alignment, it won't work. So true.
So true. I feel like we could talk all day on this. I feel like we could carry on. But I am conscious of time, and I would love to, I think we've summarized it, that it does actually go back to that freedom. Freedom is equaling that success, and that's going to be different for everybody. But you have to take action that is relative to the ambition that you want to achieve. And there's no right or wrong answer with that, because it comes down to you as that individual and your goals and your setup and all the rest of it. What are your kind of parting words of wisdom for people who are maybe feeling a bit stuck or feeling just, like they're wanting to grow, but just not quite getting to where they want to right now?
Yeah, for me, I'd look at probably stepping back and looking at both, is that what is holding me back mindset wise, energetically, and what is holding me back strategically, like what am I actually doing? And sometimes writing it out and seeing. And one other thing, actually, I'll jump on this because I think this is probably more important, actually, is it's a task I always get my clients to do regularly. And especially if they're ever feeling stuck or overwhelmed, they're either not getting the results or life is just really busy for them just now, is look at what are the things that you need to do to make this goal happen. So get them to brainstorm everything. So say, for example, whether it's a 10K month, 50K month, 100K month, what are everything that we need to do to make this happen? And get them to write it all down. Then I say, okay, now go back through that and pick the top 3 things that'll move the needle forward the most. Do those things. Even if you do nothing else, do those 3 things. Because what often happens is we spend 80% of our time doing the things that get us 20% of the results. Whereas you can spend 20% of your time doing the things that get you 80% of the results. And I said this once to someone that was new and came into my world. And it's funny, she listed out all the things that she thought would move the needle forward. And it was all planning. There was not one execution task in there. It was all, I'm going to do market research and I'm going to look at this place and I'm going to inquire here and I'm going to ask about this. And then I'm going to sit down and I'm going to plan if this is, and I was like, okay, that's amazing. But none of those things actually bring you money into your business. There's not one execution there. I say, so we want to have some planning, but what the things that's actually going to move the needle forward is booking the place, advertising it, and getting sales in. Like that's the things that's actually going to do it. So I think if anybody's ever stuck or feeling overwhelmed, it would be, what's the goal? What are all the things that you can do to get you there? And then pick the top 3 things that will actually move the needle forward the most and concentrate on those first. Then with the rest of your time, you can choose to either do the other things, or if your life's a bit busy, you can go and live your life, bring more excitement into your life, do self-care, whatever you choose, because you know you've got the most important things done.
Amazing. I feel like that's a really good place for us to end that conversation with that awesome tip. Yeah, it's so true, isn't it? We spend our time on the easy things or the quick things that actually don't have a huge impact on our business. And yeah, we could delve into that. Well, maybe that's for another podcast.
Yep. Definitely.
Thank you so much for joining me today. It's been brilliant to chat through things. Hope you guys listening to it have taken away lots of different golden nuggets. Where can people find you if they want to connect with you, Hayley?
So firstly, thank you so much for having me on. And the best place to always find me is on Instagram. It's where I'm on the most. It's always me in my DMs. It's not a team member. So that is Hayley Forbes Coaching on Instagram. But I do also have Facebook, and I've got a private group on there as well for women entrepreneurs. If you want to join that community, then again, probably DM me on Instagram and I can send you links to there. And then I've got my website as well. If anybody wants to go and have a look, it's just www.hayleyforbescoaching.com.
Amazing. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a brilliant conversation, and I know lots of people are going to take some brilliant stuff and hopefully actions off the back of it as well.
Thanks so much.
See you soon.